Hello, this is the GB Transfer Show. We're not going to talk about transfers, so we're just about to lose about 1 million followers right now. But we're going to talk about things that are much more interesting. But first of all, let's hand over to Arya Yutsu, who's going to present it.
Thank you, Guillem. Yes, this is the Football Index GB Transfer Show. We haven't been on since the last year of January. Of course, it's not transfer season, but there has been an interest in the show, so why not? And today we have a really special guest. He's been technical director at many big clubs, including Chelsea, and been manager of that Chelsea club as well after Jose Mourinho. And since then, more recently, he's come to my country, India, that is, and been technical director of Northeast United Football Club.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
We just wanted to start with, the thing that you're really working on now, which is Win Your Mind. Tell us a little about the concept and the podcast itself.
You know, everybody now interesting about the psychology part of football, and everybody aware to the psychology part. By the way, not just in football. But I can say to you that it started when I had a meeting with one of the owners. I will not tell you who he is. We have a club in London, and he's my friend. And he said to me, I like this coach very much. I said, why do you like him? He said, he always say, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win. I said to him, if you can do me a favor, I will be very grateful. He said, what? I said, find me the first one that will tell you I want to lose. So he didn't find him yet, by the way, me too. So everybody is saying the same thing. Everybody say we want to win. Everybody say we want to be happy. Everybody want to say we want to be successful. The difference is what the step that you are doing for this. And this is what I'm talking about the step, because you can take a lot of examples from the football to even to other areas, like business, politics, whatever you want, life, normal life, because everybody have the pressure. And I'm talking about it because football, for my opinion, is the most or the biggest pressure environment in the world. Why? Because everybody have pressure, but in football also there is supporters, there is owners that sometimes, I'm sorry, don't have a clue about football, but they decide about your future. And there is you, the media, that also have opinion about everything. And about this, we need to deal with this, not just me, especially the players. And we need to remember that only 20 or 25, or now Ronaldo is 35. So you can learn a lot from this for other areas.
Avram, we've talked for many, many years. And one of the things that attracts me every time we decide to go for a meal is the quality of the restaurant. That tends to be always very, very good. But as well as that, the conversations that we have, they're not football. They touch things that go around football that are as important as a tactic or the quality of one player. And a lot of the times we spoke about that, about psychology and how to get the best out of players and how to deal with the pressures from the game. Now, it seems like we've been talking for many, many years, but right now there seems to be the right atmosphere for projects like yours to succeed, because more and more people are taking that side of things seriously.
Yes, absolutely. First, you are very good in choosing restaurants, I must tell you. The food is fantastic. But everybody knows to speak about this. You know, I always say everybody want to be a winner, want to win. Not everybody know to be a winner. And we spoke a lot about this. By the way, again, it's not just a football. You can learn a lot from the football, because football is, as I said before, the biggest, for me, biggest pressure environment in the world. So how to take the best from the players is very important. Because now, let's say 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was coaches that know everything about tactics, and there was coaches that didn't have ideas about tactics. Now, if you take any other, you know, I'm traveling around the world, lecturing, speak with young coaches. Even every young coach is under 18, even in other country, know tactics, know that you need to how to build up. You know how we need to press and everything, but not everybody know how to deal with the pressure. Even coaches. When you choose a coach now, you need to choose a coach also to know how to deal with the pressure and how to direct the pressure. By the way, I must tell you, Guillem, I don't like the word deal with the pressure, because when you deal with the pressure, you want to win the pressure. But the pressure is there. He will be there in your life, in my life, in life of everybody You need to divert the pressure. You need to use the pressure to achieve something, because I don't think that you can achieve something in your life without pressure. Because if you don't have pressure, let's go to the beach, look at the waves, and everything will be okay.
Talking about pressure, one of my favorite stories that you told me out of thousands is the one where you picked on the board just before you met Liverpool, that number 9 with the strange name called Anfield. Would you tell us?
Yes, always you need to find the right word, what's happened. I remember that when we played against Liverpool, we need to remember it was very, very unique situation, because Chelsea played against Liverpool the third time at the same stage, semi-final, against English team, the same team at the same stage. And it was I don't remember things like this. Third time in 4 years. And Chelsea lost the 2 times that before. So they spoke a lot about Anfield before we played against them there. Even the big players, Anfield, because they didn't have a good memory from there. So I remember that I put the lineup, and instead of striker, I put Anfield. And I remember, I think it was Balague that said to me, "What is Anfield?" I say, "You're speaking about Anfield so much that I thought that he's the top striker, then he can score a lot of goals. Anfield, not even one supporter can score a goal."
Well, that is dealing with the pressure. And before Arya takes over the conversation again and moves us on, there's another story that you told me, and I'm bringing these stories forward because they don't have to do with football directly, but it is football, and it is with pressure and the mental state as well. You worked with Frank Lampard's anxiety in a masterful way by making him think in a particular game that he was not going to play.
Yes, I always think how to deal with the pressure, how to take the best from the players under this. And I can say that for me, there is a peak point. If the players is too relaxed, I need to put something to motivate them. If they're under a lot of pressure, and there is a lot of pressure in the football, we need to find a way how to take the pressure from them. With Lampard, by the way, spoke about this. It's very interesting what they are saying, because he was nominated as a legend of football last year, and he spoke about this. Lampard is a great player. Was a really great player that took the best of himself, hard work and everything. But he was under a lot of pressure before the semi-final. His mom died and everything, and a lot of things happened before, and it was a big game. Henk ten Cate said to me, "This is the most important game in the history of Chelsea." I said to him, "Yes, also in mine." I say, what I will do with him? He was looking under pressure, but player admit. So I came to him a day before. I say, "I'm not sure that you will play." So why I wanted to take the pressure instead that he will think how he will play. He think if he's playing or not. And he said to me, "Big game, big game, big game." I say, "Big game, my decision." And at the end of the day, I knew that he will play, but I want him to think only if he's playing or not, instead to thinking how he will play. Like every big player dealing with this, you remember. I'm sorry that I say, you remember what I told you about Messi in 2014 before the group after the group stages. So everybody have this pressure, and that's what I spoke with Lampard about this, and then of course he played the day after, and I think maybe it was his best game.
We're already talking about Chelsea. Let's move on to topic number 2. That is, the current Chelsea squad. Maurizio Sarri was under pressure earlier this season, and according to rumors, he was going to be out after the Tottenham game, but they did win that 2-0. And how is it for Sarri right now? What must be going on at the club? You've been there. You know what it's like. What would be going on through his mind, and what sort of pressures would be applied on him right now?
I say what is going on under his mind, that he knows that he is in a job that you are good as your last game. And this is the quickest way in our job from zero to hero, zero, hero. Sarri was the hero in the beginning of the season. He started very well. I think there was first base. Everybody say Sarri. Then he was zero when I'm sorry about zero, not zero, but he was useless. And then so we are in a job that we know that we depend on the results. But the result is the last thing that needs to be important for us. We need to focus about things that bring results. And I think what Sarri is doing, He's focused about this thing. By the way, you don't have any other choice. You don't have other choice. He need to bring results. And you know that, especially in Chelsea, but also in other clubs. And I don't think he paid attention to this too much. He came, did his job, and now the result is good. If the result will not be good, they will say again that he is under pressure, and you will hear another rumor. Did you notice that the last 24 hours there were no rumors about him? So the rumors coming after you're losing games. But even coaches need the project to win your mind, to need to focus on the right thing. Because what's happened under pressure, that sometimes you're focused on other things. Coaches need to do what they need to be successful. Players need to do everything to be successful. Pressure is part of the game, is good. Because with other pressure, people don't push themselves.
Avram, I've been friends with at least, let me calculate, 4 Chelsea managers. And all of them had a different relationship with the owner, Roman Abramovich. Now, he was more present at the beginning. He's less present now. But one thing that people get wrong with him, and having been talking football with Roman, is that he actually is a football fan, as well as he loves football. Another thing is that if he has the same kind of wavelength as his managers, or if he thinks football as deeply as the managers, doesn't tend to happen that owners do that. But when you know what Roman is like, would you describe what kind of relationship he develops with the managers? What kind of relationship you had with him and still have with him?
Yeah, let's speak about relationship first with the coaches, because I think it's more simple than people think. Roman is giving everything to the coach, everything that he can, yes, and he can, because, the power now is money and he have money. But more than this, he loves football like crazy. He's watching football and he developed his ideas about football. And now he have also experience. I think he's 15 years now, almost as an owner. So he's passionate about football. I remember that one day I watched with him 3 or 4 games in a day, and I came to England. It was not in England, and one of the journalists said to me, you don't like football. I said, oh, come on. I was now watching like crazy under 17, under 19, I don't know what. So he likes football. Then in relationship, the professional relationship, he give you everything that you want. The facilities is great, everything great, also players. And even I can tell you, without mentioning them, that there was 2-3 players, even in the last 5 years, that he didn't want them, but the coach wanted them, and he brought them with a big money. By the way, at the end of the day, it was right, because 4 from the 5 was not so good. So, and if a coach don't want a player, he will not force him to bring a player. And I think the relationship is good, and he likes football very much. And the other end, he's the owner of a team. He's putting the money, as a right to say something, but and more than to say something. And as you know, Chelsea club is running very well. Marina, she's in charge of everything, and the organization is very good. And one thing we need to know, Chelsea brand is because of Roman Abramovich, and you know that. You met him, and you know that he's a great guy.
See if you can add anything to this story, which I never said publicly, but I met actually Roman in his house in Chelsea. I wanted to meet him for tea and biscuits, and tea and biscuits is what I got, by the way. Really good biscuits and really, really good tea. I managed to just have a peek at his flat, massive, of course. But actually, I almost made it late to Revista de la Liga, the show I was doing in Sky, because he was talking and I was so engaged, and the show was going to start in half an hour, and I did say, and I still had things to say. I almost made it late, first time and last time ever, but it was worth it. And he told me that why he decided to join a football club. And see if you can add to this story, because I'm sure you heard it 100 times. So he comes from a long distance to go to Old Trafford to see that famous game, Manchester United, Real Madrid,
yes,
of Ronaldo and the goals from Beckham, who was on the bench. And he was tired and arrived late, and he was pushed around to get into the VIP area. Peter Kenyon was his host. Eventually, he got there. Everything smiled of beer, and there was so many people around, and the whole thing wasn't pleasant. Then they gave him a little bit of food. He was starving, and it was this big this big dish with a little bit of food in the middle, and he wanted more and more and more. Anyway, he sat down, and then, of course, Real Madrid scored, and he stood up and started clapping. And Peter Kenyon got hold of his arm, and he were like, no, our team is the red one. So obviously he wanted it to be careful because this is Old Trafford, by the way. But of course, Ronaldo scores a hat-trick and Beckham scores that free kick. Scored twice, didn't he, as well? And he just went like, oh my God, no silence. Pini Sahabi picked him up to take him to the airport with Rio Ferdinand's car. So Rio and Pini were trying to have conversation with Roman. Roman was like, that. And the next day he went to his lawyers and said, buy me a football club.
This story is true. I was not there, but it was one more guy, German Tkachenko, that is a good friend of him, and he brought him to this meeting. And he told me that, and Roman also, didn't watch games before. It was his first game. I think he was 30-something. And German told me that, and German is a big fan of football, is watching a lot of football. And he said, I was there with Roman that I think he didn't even want to go to the game in the beginning. And he said, in the halftime, I felt like someone that put drugs in his blood. He said it was so exciting about the football. And he said, let's buy Man United or something like this or something. It was in the halftime. He said to me, it's really, I will never forget. He said to me, did you see someone that you put injection with drugs to his blood? That's how Roman felt about football. And it's very interesting because people that come late to the football and likes it, they love it like crazy. Even I know the owner of Atletico Madrid now that came from my country. He didn't watch any game in his life. We couldn't speak about him without football. And now we cannot speak without him without football and about nothing else except football. This is why I say football is more than a normal business. It's excitement. It's passion.
Moving on to topic number 3. Rumors are that he'd be leaving for Real Madrid, but just a little bit about that. The performance of Hazard over these years at Chelsea. He scored 16 goals and 12 assists already this season, so he keeps getting better.
Yeah, let me add one thing to this, which is why Real Madrid want Hazard. And quite clearly, Hazard said it himself, he wants to go to Real Madrid. And I'd be surprised if it doesn't happen. But the reason why Real Madrid needs Hazard is because they need to renew there's a word in Spanish that doesn't translate well into English, illusion. They need to believe that a new bright future is coming to them. And you can only do that with players. That's how Real Madrid have always considered their business model. They need to renew this idea that they are like Disney. Every year they have to have a superstar that almost is as big as the club, but not as big. So Hazard will fill that gap. That has to do with the business model and has to do with the psychology of the club. And Hazard will fill another gap, which is a goal scoring gap. At the moment, Benzema is doing brilliant as a striker, but he needs another one next to him, but not a number 9, because a number 9 uses the same space as Benzema uses. So unless you could get a Lewandowski who moves around and is intelligent, Real Madrid don't want a number 9. Perhaps bring Raúl de Tomás, who's at Rayo and has done well at Rayo, somebody like that. But they need another goal scorer, and of course Hazard can do that. Plus, we've always known that Zinedine Zidane loves Hazard. So, love stories of those caliber tend to end up well.
It's not surprised that Zidane liked Hazard, because when Zidane was a player, people liked him because he's playing more or less like Zidane. He was more aggressive, you remember. People forgot with Zidane, they did a lot of red cards, and I love this passion. And of course, he did very well for Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid need Hazard. I think every club will use Hazard. And, we speak about players. It's not the policy of Real Madrid. Even in Real Madrid, it's more clear. If you take Barcelona to speak everybody about the system, Barcelona was good when Cruyff played there. Barcelona was good when Romario was there. And then every time they had a superstar. And then was Ronaldinho, that was amazing player. And now they have Messi, the most gifted player that I ever see, I think, in the world. So this is always you need the stars. And Ronaldo left. With him, there is minus 50 goals, if you calculate it or not. He's a back player. And I'm not thinking about the other influence that he has on the game. And Hazard can fill the gap. But if you speak about Real Madrid, I totally agree with you that they need number 9. But I think they need to change also the system and play with one more midfielder that can create and scoring goals.
Just briefly, before we go back to Aria, you mentioned Messi. you are a very, very well-read man, and you've got a very, very good book behind you of a great biography of Messi, the only authorized biography there is of Messi, which I wrote, but it's not that one I want to ask you about. It's the poster that's next to it. You have to explain that one.
My time in Portsmouth was amazing time, because I received a team that was in the bottom of the league. I can say now that the criminals around the club sold all the players and took the money and ran away in January, which we could stay in the league. I had a good team. And then, if you remember, I needed to leave the club. I didn't have. I will never forget it because I didn't have any reason to stay. We know that they will take points for us, no players, and the squad that stayed there was in the contract. Dintan can play only 17 games, 14 games before you pay the money. I can tell you even story about Dindan after that. The owner of the French team asked me to pay the money. I say, we don't have even one penny in our club. I remember that I spoke with my wife and I said to her, I'm leaving. Was waiting for me like hundreds of, between 50 or 100 supporters of Portsmouth. I will never forget it. Few of them was, I think, over 90. One of them I met, by the way, when I went to see Portsmouth. Is now over 100. He's in charge on the VIP there for 100 years. Children and everything. And they say to me, please stay, because if you don't stay, we don't have owners, we don't have the team. Please stay. And I remember it was an emotional decision because people don't know, I was on the way to tell the player that I'm leaving. And I came there and I remember that my wife, Sophie, called me after and she said to me, how did you tell them? I said, you don't believe it. I saw these supporters and emotionally I came to the players. We are staying, but we need to take a decision. Or we will behave like a tourist, or we behave like professionals, or top professionals. And so professionalism is a way of life. But what I want to say to you, that, in England is tradition that in the last game of the home game, you are waving to the supporters, and the supporters asked me to give a speech. It was before the final, and after this, the supporters in Portsmouth, amazing. They support the team even on. So I say to them, they can take points from us, they can do whatever they want, but one thing they cannot break our spirit. And the Portsmouth supporters almost every week send me this. So I put it here that I will remember them.
The final thing that we really had to talk about, Avram, since you're here, is the ISL. You spoke briefly about John Abraham's passion. And I'd heard a little story about how John Abraham was supposed to take up a team in one of the more popular parts of India, but he chose to take up the Northeast because it has a huge footballing tradition. In fact, some of the best footballers in our country come from there. What was that experience like being in the ISL?
First, it was amazing. I decided like 20 years ago when I was the coach of national team of Israel, and we did amazing campaign. We didn't lose even one game with France and everything. And I decided I will go with two directions through the football. Three directions. First, to use the football to help people, to make some charities or something like this, which we did in Ghana and other countries to help the people. Second, which is the first, to try to achieve something, to go to teams and take them to highest place that they can, because football is to win something. And third, to share my experience with other places that want to develop not the football skill, but they wanted to use the football or like football in the started and only in the beginning. And that's why I came to Northeast. I met Johnny Ibrahim, and it was, India, yes, Northeast is the middle of nowhere, somewhere in the north. You need to fly 2 or 3 hours from Mumbai and and there is clubs in Mumbai and in Delhi that you could buy, or Kerala and nice places. And I said to him, why did you go to this place? He said, first, Northeast is very well known about the academy, the good players that came there. Second, it's a place that need the football to, to have something that will make them happy. And I was very impressed from this because it did a lot also for the community there. And I found it that in India is on the way up, no doubt that on the way up. Still, people don't know, which you know, that cricket is number one because, except England, many countries, when I speak about cricket, they don't know what I'm talking about. But it is the most popular sport, and I was the man of the trainings. I must tell you that I understand better in cricket, but I don't have a clue. But it was very nice to see that. And by the way, now we are giving an interview, which my part is near the Lord's Cricket Stadium, the most famous, I think, cricket stadium in the world. But this is sport number one. But football is growing up, The problem in India is, there is no academies for the moment. They are trying to do it, but there's no doubt that the Indian football is the way up.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. That has been absolutely fantastic, Avram, hearing so many of these stories, hearing this insight that we normally wouldn't get. And it's been a bit different from the regular GB transfer show where we talk about transfers, as Guillem already forewarned us. But we will get back into talking about, if you want to talk about rumors, if you want to talk about transfer stories, and you want to talk about the latest goings on in the footballing world, we do have on Guillem's channel the Ask Guillem segment where you can send in your questions. That comes up every week. And we also have top five, football top five. So thank you once again, Avram.
It's my pleasure. I know one of the reasons that I did it to see if Guillem remember my stories.
Always do.
Yeah, remember.
Repeat them.
Guillem have a lot of stories also. He knows everybody, and it's good. He's passionate about football. Is amazing, and that's what football about. I love this game, and there is a lot of around. And remember, win your mind, huh?